Christmas, everyone.
Ho, 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 Merry Christmas. Today we are talking about, we're not really sure, actually we do know. We are talking about our first Christmas book called Holidaze by Christina Lawrence.
It's actually called In the Holidays.
Is it?
Yeah.
Hmm?
I thought it was just called Holidays, like days, but it said small on top, like In a Holidays.
Oh, wait, now I know what it is about. This was the Groundhog Day book.
It's the Groundhog, but it's not a Groundhog Day, it's a Groundhog Week-ish. And I have to say, I started reading this like right after the Grace debacle of Charm. So I was, very ready to love any book that were coming my way. So I was very, very kind to this book, and I think I gave it 4 stars. Which, if I would have read this off something that I loved, it would have probably been more of a, 2-star category.
No,
3-star,
it's not a
maybe.
2-star book.
But I was feeling generous, so it got 4 stars. This was a book about our main girl, Malin, who it took forever before I even figured out what her name was, because they called her Maisie and May and Malin and whatever. Her name was Malin anyways. And she spent Christmas with her family. And it took me a while to figure out how old she was, because it starts with her creeping out of the basement room and sneaking upstairs to talk to her uncle. And I was like, oh, she's like 14,
Yeah.
I felt like she was young. And then it turns out, no, she's actually 26.
Yeah.
So, no, not young. But basically, Malin and her brother and her parents spend every Christmas together with her parents' best friends.
From college.
And there's
families.
a gay couple with the adopted twins that are 5.
Yeah.
And then there's the other couple who owns the chalet where they're at, like the cabin.
Yeah, they have 2 sons.
And they have 2 sons, Andrew and Theo.
And one of them is 26, the same age as her. That's Theo. And then the 29-year-old.
29, yeah. Andrew.
Andrew.
And they've spent every Christmas here since forever, since they were little, since before they were born, the children, I believe. So this is like their chosen family is how they refer to it. And it starts with Malin feeling very, very distraught because she had an eggnog-fueled makeout session with Theo. Which was not good. He licked her face, and it was...
I missed the licking.
That's what she said. He licked my entire face. And I was like... Yeah, I feel like that wouldn't be very...
She describes it a lot, and she says, that it was messy, there was no, spark, and they got her there as soon as possible, and, so the next day she's feeling quite guilty. She goes to see him as he's sitting down on the table.
She goes to see her uncle, and then he's like, you need to speak with Theo, you guys are lifelong friends, you guys are gonna have to talk about this. So... She goes to the kitchen, and usually it's just Theo and Andrew's dad who's in the kitchen.
Because they're the early morning
Because they're the early risers, they're 2 peas in the pod. They say, you're making editing a chore for me today. Yeah, a chore. Raven here is keeping me on my toes with my editing skills, so if I miss something, sorry. Anyways, this morning when she walks in, Theo is at the table, but he's not even freaking looking at her. At all.
Ignores her like a total
He ignores her. So she tries to talk to him. It's going so-so. And then she escapes with her coffee out onto the patio, and Andrew comes along. He's been moved out of the basement where all the children used to sleep in bunk beds, and he's now taken over the boathouse where it's cold.
And by now we're privy to the information that she has been secretly in love with Andrew her whole life.
Yeah, since she was 11. And so Andrew, he's like, oh, I saw you and Theo yesterday. Oh, that's new. And she's like...
And he says something we've all been waiting for that to happen, basically.
Because at some point the parents had decided that Malin and Theo should have babies together. Like we do when we're parents. And we're it's like, I have a son, he's 15. One of my best friends, Maria, had a daughter born 7 weeks before Willem. And I was like...
They're getting married.
You guys are gonna have babies,
But don't you think that happens?
But I don't do that anymore now because I understand he needs to choose his own partner.
Oh, thanks for that. So there's no arranged marriages happening in Lia's family.
I've been told it's not cool.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Anyways, I have a really big issue with their ages in this book. Mm-hmm. Because if you have been pining for somebody your whole life, every single Christmas you spend with them, by the time you have hormones, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to say something or dry hump them in the closet. Like, there's going to be stuff happening. When you're 26 years old, you are now a mature adult, having a job for a few years after you finish college and blah, blah, blah. Have had sexual partners, have had relationships that maybe haven't worked, or relationships that are working, who knows. And you're at a point where you're making a clear, conscious decision. This is not the age where you're then having a sloppy makeout with the person that you're not even interested in. Just
Probably
because you
not.
had too much eggnog. I don't buy it. Like, if she was 18, okay.
Honestly,
At 26,
I was questioning this
no.
too. I would have assumed that she would have hooked up with one of them when she was like 16, 17, where you're like fully responsible and all of that. But I think it could also be the familiarity factor, like these are family friends and they're almost like brothers to her. It's weirdly, at least cousin-ish, the way they've been raised.
Exactly. But Theo says later in the book, I feel like you led me on. Yeah. And it's like, until we were 26? Like, what? No, I didn't lead you on. You're a grown-ass man. I'm not leading you on. And in that scenario, she had not even been actually kissing him because that was another alternate reality.
Yeah. So what happens? This happens. She kisses Theo. She asks her uncle for help, who's not really her uncle, but like a family friend uncle. Andrew spots them. He's like, we all saw that happening. So she's like, my life sucks now. I don't know what to do. And then they say, oh, we're going to sell the cabin. Theo and Andrew's parents, right before they leave, they're like, we're going to sell the cabin. We're never going to come back here again.
Yeah.
Then they're in the car. They're on the way to the airport. The car gets hit and she dies, only to wake up in her seat on the airplane on her way to the chalet 6 days earlier.
So she has to redo everything.
So she's there again, and this is where the groundhoggy thing starts, but it's not quite groundhoggy because we see her day the first time around.
No.
So we get to experience the first day, and then she doesn't make it very long. She ends up dying by like the first evening again. Yeah. And gets restarted because she falls down from the attic steps and dies. Yeah. And then she restarts on the plane, and then she makes it to the morning after, where a tree branch falls on her, and she dies. Yeah. But then after that, she survives the whole way through.
And I get her anxiety during this, where she's making the right decisions, and she's being more herself. Mm-hmm. And she's saying, now I'm making the right decisions. Now I'm getting everything I want. We should not have these toys. Back to book. Mm-hmm. So she is getting looped and looped and looped, and then she's making good decisions, our Maisie May, and then she's having anxiety of, now I have everything I want. What if I get crushed by something and then have to start all over again? Like, now I will live the rest of my life uncertain that I'm going to be in this time loop forever.
For sure, because basically before the car crashes into them and she dies the first time around, she says, what will it take for me to be happy? Show me what will make me happy.
Show me, not give me happiness.
Exactly. Show me. So she's really scared that because the last time around when she comes into it, she's very different from herself. She's like, don't go running after the dog. You're going to hurt your knees. You're going to do this. Don't freaking eat the candy bar. You're going to break your teeth. And she comes in with this groundhog energy like Bill Murray has in the movie when he's like, like walking through just catching stuff. And
yes, I love that.
He knows all of it. And then immediately also she basically tells Andrew that she's had a crush on him for forever. And that I love his reaction in this because it is like, he goes, but I never thought you were for me. So he's never even allowed himself to think about her that way because she was always meant for his brother. And I see this. This is like,
you do?
I like this family dynamic kind of thing where it's like, if someone's been like, oh, your sister's going to marry this guy, they're going to be together forever, you're going to be like, yeah, he's cute, but I guess he's for my sister.
Andrew's 29. They're so old for this to be happening. Okay, Andrew's 29. And when he was younger, sure, she was 3 years younger than him, but like 19 and 16 is like not really that big of a deal, right? 17, 20
like 18, 21 is great. You know?
Yeah,
like now you're in like way normal territory.
Fine.
You know?
And during those years, boys have a harder time managing their, what's the word for it? Not sex drive, but managing their boners, okay?
Yeah.
So there's boners all of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, he hasn't considered her? Does that mean he's never, ever had a boner for her in 29 years? I'm not marrying that guy.
Fair enough. But I think the
Right?
reason why she made them this age is really so that they will come out of this
Taking seriously.
to have a serious relationship, and they basically get married with like less than a year by the time they're actually together. So it's clearly more of a the age is there just to allow their relationship to progress really, really quickly. I think it's more that.
And I didn't mind that at all. I thought so too. Like 26 and 29, you've loved each
But
other
they
your
could have
whole
been
life.
23 and 26, and that would have probably made
it
more
also
sense.
would have been fine. I would also would have been fine with
22 and 25 could have worked too.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
this would have been a bit more realistic, maybe.
Because I would have expected at 29 for him to either be in a serious relationship or broken off from a serious relationship or like never wanting to have a relationship. Anyways, like I figured like when you're around 30 is when you have these like bigger decisions that are heading towards you about relationships. Oh, thank you. And so I understand that you like that like family dynamic reaction, but for me it's like if you had nothing in 29 years and then somebody is like, I like you, and you're like, well, I don't have anybody else, I'll go for you.
I guess I like you too. Yeah, this I don't like, but I like the way he phrased it. I never thought you were for me.
Yeah.
Like it's more of a I haven't even allowed myself to think of you that way because you were never meant for me. Like and it was more that like.
And he was a very sweet guy.
Yeah.
And like nerdy.
Yeah, I mean. So the relationship progresses, and then at some point she has to tell him that she is living in this time loop because she's worried that it's going to end.
Yeah.
So she tells him what happened with Theo, and everyone fucking loses their minds. And this bugged me quite a lot, actually, because yes, she kissed his brother, but not in this freaking timeline. So this timeline, her brother has never kissed her. Yeah. As far as he knows, at least.
But she says, in another timeline, I kissed your brother. That's why my time loop started. And he was like, so I'm like second choice.
Yeah. And then he gets really annoyed and upset with her, and he won't let her, like, he won't talk to her.
Yeah.
And then at the end, when she's like, when she has this talk with him, and she's like, so because of this, I thought we weren't going to have a future and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh yeah, you gave up on us so fast. And I'm like, you kicked her out. You told her no. You told her, I can't even, like, I don't even want to speak with you because you kissed my brother. Like, he did all of these things. And he's like, well, you gave up fast. And like, she's been pining for 16 years at this point.
Yeah. And it's unhealthy. That's unhealthy to me. Like, this girl needed therapy, and I guess that's why she ended up in a time loop, so she had fast track therapy or something like that. But like pining over somebody for 16 years without ever saying anything, like I'm surprised this girl didn't have it riddled with disease.
Yeah, but I mean, she was stressed, and she was all of these things, because it also comes out in this book that the parents divorced a couple of years earlier, and they still managed to come back and spend Christmas together at this house, and I mean, I am amazed by any relationship that dies where the parents can still do. Like, honestly, my in-laws are like that. My in-laws spend Christmas together. They haven't been married for years and years and years, like decades at this point.
Maybe time heals those wounds.
But it's always been they've always been kind of fine together.
Wow, that is a unicorn.
It is a unicorn, but like I am amazed by it, because if like my parents, they can barely be in the same room. You know, like, I mean, they'll do it. They'll be civil and all of this and that. But like, would they want to spend Christmas together? Like, they do it for me. And it would be for me only. And then I'd probably feel bad, because these people are like clearly freaking miserable, and they're doing it for my sake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think this is more of, I mean, normal is, there's no such thing as normal, but like this is how I would have a hard time seeing how it would be comfortable to spend Christmas with your ex, and especially if there's like new partners involved or
exactly,
anything
because
like
she's
this.
remarried, but her new husband doesn't follow them.
No, because he spends Christmas with his kids, which is fine. Right?
Yeah.
But
which it makes it easier and stuff, and maybe it allows them to be more civil together too.
Yeah, but I mean, they do talk about it in this book about how it's. But it's very testing for everyone's relationship over the holidays when they were going through the divorce and also after, and she explains that she's very much a peacekeeper, Meilin. So
don't you think this would have been the time for Andrew if there was anything there for him to be like, I'm here for you, like.
But he is there for her.
I know, but there was nothing romantic. It takes so long for the romance to happen that I just didn't believe it. And then in the first sex scene, which made me laugh so much because they're in this. In the first sex scene, they're in a sleeping bag.
Yeah.
And in this like outside house, like boathouse, right?
Boathouse, yes.
And he's going down on her, and then he like comes up and he's like, I can't do it, and she's like, what? Was something wrong with like my vagina? Like what?
Yeah. And he's like, no, I just can't breathe.
He's like, I can't breathe under there. Death by May's vagina, and I was laughing so hard, like death by suffocation on the first time I tried to be romantic with you. But that to me was like, then it was so non-romantic because they have been friends and like basically fucking brother and sister.
Yeah, at least cousin-like. They have a cousin-like relationship.
So this is like that kink where you like want to sleep with your step sibling, you know?
Yeah. Weird.
Gross.
Weird.
It's weird. I see your face right now. It's going very weird. Like, and yes,
like way to ruin the family Christmas. You know, after that relationship, I'm just saying. If we thought the divorce was going to rebound, you just wait on the step sibling breakup, Christmas party.
Exactly. Oh yeah. No, it's the step sibling kink is like very weird to me. But it's everywhere. It's in a ton of books that I read. And
but I think the step sibling kink is more of a proximity thing as well, because it's like there's only one bed kind of thing, you know, like you take this person if let's say your parents find someone new when you're a teenager, and then you're like all of a sudden you're living together with this other teenager of the opposite sex, and it's like it's kind of like the forced proximity. Like even if you would have never seen them in real life, now they're in your house, they're everywhere, they're like going on your vacation, you know, like
exactly.
Like so it's not weird that you would develop feelings for them, but hopefully they should be more, you know, sibling like rather than romantic like.
And if it happens and it's real, like obviously love is love, and I accept all love. Yeah. But this was a very long time of a sibling like relationship without any.
It would have been better
on both sides.
It would have been better if he could have said like, "Oh, I wanted you for many years too." Like he said, he says, "I never thought you were for me." But it would have been also nice if he would have been like, "Yes, finally," you know.
Exactly. Like finally, you chose me when everyone thought you were going to be for Theo.
Yeah.
But you chose me. I love you. Let's make babies.
Yes.
Baby. We'll rewrite it, okay? You hear that, all Christina right. Lauren? We have a little editing to do.
We have editing to do. I mean, we're just going to edit all of Tracy Wolf's Charm first to be a 120-page novella.
Oh, of like a cute couple falling in love by a bookshelf, playing games, drinking tea. Because they can finally drink tea. Maybe he could try things he's never tried before, like hot chocolate. Oh, yes. Maybe even champagne. Yeah. Anyways. So
and I mean, it's all in her head. So she could be like, my fridge is now stocked with champagne.
Yeah, exactly. Ta-da!
The loveliest of cheeses. And there's going to charcuterie.
Exactly. And
croissants.
Like, let's learn what you like and don't like in food. Oh, you don't like blue cheese, but you love croissant, because who doesn't love croissant? Croissant is life.
Croissants it is life. It's true. Honestly, I could never be gluten-free. Like if someone came to me and told me like, you are now gluten intolerant, I'd cry. So, and then they'd be like, and lactose too, and I'm like, bread and cheese. chocolate. Like, yeah, I'd be very sad.
When we were having our Christmas party the other day, we had to get some gluten-free pepperkakor, which is gingerbread cookies. Evan goes, what is even gluten?
Yeah, what the frick is gluten?
True. Why do these cookies look so different? Because they don't have gluten in them. And I was like,
no flour. Yeah, gluten is life.
Gluten is life.
Love is life.
Love is life.
And if you have a crush on your kind of cousin, your pseudo cousin, you should let them know earlier.
Yeah.
Like when you're a teenager. And don't wait until you're 26.
And then you can make a mistake and like move on from there.
Yeah.
But
and if your parents can handle divorce and still celebrate Christmas together, you and your kind of cousin can handle a fling and be good after.
Yeah.
All right. Wisdom word. Told ya.
Guess what? Leah is letting me read a cowboy romance. Christmas
And it is
book
called All I Want for Christmas
is a cowboy.
So listen in and we'll tell you all about this horror of a book.
It's gonna be amazing.
And then we're at the end of the year. Woo!
We'll catch you next week. Bye.
We'd Rather Be Reading is an original podcast by Jerrica and Lia Sanfo. The music for The Penguins, written and performed by David Allred from the album The Transition, courtesy of Erased Tapes. Please check him out on Spotify and check us out on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram at We'd Rather Be Reading and on Twitter at We'd Rather Read. You can also email us at we'dratherbereadingthepod@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.